Let's take the topic, savoring life. A few years ago, we were down in Chicago. We went deliberately to walk through the 153 paintings and sketches of a French impressionist. Remember that scene down in Chicago? Mm-hmm. What was his name?
Monet.
Okay. It took almost 3 hours, but the time went by so fast. Because standing in that much beauty and hearing the inspiration from the tape of how he composed it just took me to a different realm. And when it was over, you're still almost in that momentum, that state of mind. You've been so enriched, you've met one of the geniuses of life through the works that explained him and his vision of life. And as we walked across the street, we discovered we were hungry. And there was the restaurant directly across from the Art Institute there on Michigan Boulevard. It was Applebee's. And as I walked in, I thought I was assaulted. The sound, the loud music. It's so contrasted that it was painful. And I said, I cannot eat here. I will not eat here. I'll wait for you outside, but I'm not eating here. I couldn't.
Did you know what I said? What?
We walked out, and perchance the muses were smiling on us. We turned the corner and walked about 100 yards, and there was the Russian tea house. And as I walked in, the waiters were in tux, actual silverware on the table, with cloth napkins, not handkerchiefs. And there was classical music, softly in the background. I said, here is where I want to eat. I reflected upon that, and I bumped into that situation in variations over the years. And I realized if the mind isn't in a particular mode of receptivity, it won't hear, it won't see what's in front of it. Or at best, a glimmer, a surface glimmer, and then it moves on. There was a lady in one of my classes one night in gentle yoga. And when the class finished, she couldn't help but say, how wonderful is it, I'm out of shape, and she just went on and on. I was watching her. She was almost chasing her energy. But it was bouncing off things, ricocheting everywhere and everywhere. Oh, I got to take care of myself. I need a new spiritual life. That kind of sequence of thoughts. Can I see you? And as I was about to reply, then she went on and tell me why she had to see me and all this. She was constantly commenting and writing footnotes to her own conversation and telling me all the time about seeing her. So I had 3 levels I had to keep in charge in my head. And I just smiled. I said, I was just waited. I said, why don't you call me tomorrow? We'll see. Oh, I want to do a whole day here and I want to do a weekend here. I said, we'll talk about that. Can you imagine putting her into silence? So she did call me the next day and I said, why don't you come on over and we'll have a chat. Oh, I think that's wonderful. Okay. I would say that's an American characteristic to some extent. Huh? We're so busy, we don't see what's in front of us. Can you imagine getting someone to pause if they're walking down the street with you, rattling along and say, you say, wait, let's look at that snow-covered pine tree. Can you imagine the reaction you'd get? They couldn't see what was there. They can't savor life. It's almost a melody, huh? It's almost like a fever that drives you. I told you once we did that, I thought, remarkable series of investigations in London about people who were so stressed they had all kinds of ailments, but the doctor couldn't find anything wrong with them, and yet they were having little heart arrhythmias, tension, migraines, impotency, everything. And it was all the agitated mind. That's what I call it. The unmanageable and agitated mind. For me, that's the definition of stress. Unmanageable energy. You know, it makes you the servant of it. It dictates to you. And when we inaugurated the program, half of them walked out because, you know, being quiet, restful is a waste of time. There was no money involved. Because the agitation always has values. It's not just blank, it's not just neutral. There's a reason for it. And those who stayed, it took some of them 9 months for us to bring that high blood pressure down. And I see that's an unfortunate affliction in society. That's why I think a lot of people can't recognize what you're doing. You do yoga? Are you all right? And to me, your sadhana, your self-training is what protects you. It literally reinforces and generates the ability to calm your energy so that you can apprehend the reality that's in front of you. Because you can't be happy in that state of mind. There's no way. You will eventually search for all kinds of ersatz experiences that will quiet down, whether it be drugs, liquor, something else, more distractions. And that's the sorry thing. Whatever distraction you pick won't last. So you have to jump to the next one. And you just wear yourself out and you don't know why. And sometimes even yogis get caught in that. At work. Let's say you harbor something someone said to you. Ooh, you just burn it over and over, huh? Like a broken record. And you wonder why you're getting weary. You haven't done anything physical, you don't need to. This can weary you, as you well know. And that's why coming back, even to this learning to breathe properly, can do it. Because your breath permeates everything. It is your energy. It uses the supplements called food and liquid, but breath is the key. Because there's no metabolism without breathing. And getting back into that state, oh boy, yeah. You heave a big sigh. Oh, now I see what I've been doing. Okay? You don't have to incriminate yourself. There's no indictment involved. Just, okay, come on. Let's go on from here now. Because the beauty of life is that we can savor it. We can taste what's really there. Sapere. We want to really experience the fullness of reality. See it, feel it, embrace it, if we can. Or if we see something that is foreign, possibly hurtful, we see it for what it is, and we walk by it. That's, to me, is really what your sadhana is all about. Because ultimately you want to know what life is. What is reality? And how can I align myself with it? And the beauty of it is that reality enriches you. You don't have to scramble. You just have to be present to it. You are all contemplators. And even, it's curious that even if you look at some of your major religions in the world, the highest act is an act of contemplation. Christianity calls it the beatific vision. That you are blessed in an act of seeing. How interesting, huh? Okay, that's what I want to say.
Very beautiful, Swami. He gives us good things to think about, doesn't he? Or to contemplate. So tonight is question night.
Oh!
It's your turn.
They're in the state.
You put them there.
Oh.
Yes, Nadine.
Well, if there, Swamiji, you had 5 volumes of journaling, and there's only one little book, is there another book in there that, fresh
Yes, but
insights?
somebody else is going to write that book. From a woman's point of
Not from
view.
his notes, sorry. I can't read
I'll
them.
loan you a few that I didn't put in.
Okay. The rest of the story.
Yeah.
Her story.
Well, did you notice that much of my story is in that book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, very much.
Because we weren't planning another one. I remember bringing the first book that Yes Publishers did to Swamiji. I used to kneel down and offer it to him, and he would take it and he'd go like this, offer it to his master. Okay? Then he'd bring it back down and a big smile would come on, and he'd say, "When's the next one coming?" So he said, "It will be hard to keep Yes Publishers going, but try." So we're trying.
What is disappointment?
What is what?
Disappointment.
Disappointment? What is it?
Yeah.
You don't know? How would you define it?
You ask me back.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out what your mind is doing.
Disappointment. I guess you expect something and then it didn't happen.
Hmm. Why didn't it happen?
Just circumstances.
Hmm. So you know what it means? Why are you asking? I'm serious. Disappointment spiritually, you mean? Like you want to be enlightened next week and it doesn't happen and then you get disappointed? Do you understand?
She's disappointed in your answer.
Yeah.
I can see that, but I don't know what you want. I'm sorry, when I really don't know what you want. Ask Swamiji, he must have another idea.
Yeah. So.
I would have to concur with the previous attempt. Hey, we get disappointed. Our expectations weren't met. You didn't show up in time for the chai. I think it's very simple, you know. Very well. I was hoping it would work out this way, and it didn't. I did my best, but it didn't work out. So, it's a feature of life.
I think it happens a lot. We get disappointed. That might be one of the reasons why the yogis tell us to watch santosha, the contentment. It's the place in between. I think in between getting what you want, and then you're disappointed, disappointed, disappointment, disappointed. And then you get something. But the disappointment part, that's where the santosha comes in. That we have to know that we're trying hard, we're doing our best, we're receiving grace from the divine. Sages have their eye on us, we're okay. Nothing horrible's happening, but not exactly what we want. So sometimes you have to sit back and say, now why do I want this? Right? And sometimes it's not right for us. It's like someone asked me about being in the convent a little while ago, so it's on my mind now. When I left the convent, I had to be out for a few months, finish up my vows, and then go to the next convent I was going to, which was a stricter one, and I'd stay in the same building for the rest of my life in silence most of the day, that kind of thing. So I was looking forward to that. That was great. And in the meantime, my mother asked if I would help with the budget in the house. You know, I think she just didn't want me sitting around all day. So I got a couple of jobs, and one of them was teaching first grade. They needed me, so I went and taught first grade. So the way things work, I taught for about 2 weeks, and then the principal told all the teachers that there's a PTA meeting tomorrow night, and you better all be there, that kind of thing. Okay, so all the teachers, and we have a special speaker coming, and his name is Justin O'Brien, and the next morning, the principal calls me to her office, and she says, you know, you're brand new here. It takes you 2 buses to get here, so you don't have to come to the PTA meeting. You could go home. So if I had done what the principal said, I don't know quite where I would be today. Okay? And so interesting things happen. So I went there, and it's a long story of what happened that evening and all, but the next day then this Dr. O'Brien phoned me at home, and I just walked in the door and the phone rang. So he wanted to take me out for a cup of tea. I could have said, no, really sorry, because I'm going to the convent next month. You know. But I just kind of said, well, okay. And one thing led to another, and I could have been very disappointed because what I had planned for what was it, about 12 years of being in the convent and living this particular life, I couldn't do it. Circumstances kept switching it. And so then it was very clear after 6 proposals of marriage that I was supposed to do something else, not go back to the convent, you see. So I could have been very disappointed in that things were not working out the way I had laid out my plans for my life, you see. But usually it's something totally different that's going to happen, be given to you. You'll be blessed with it. I think it's rare when there's a waiting time that what happens next is negative. I think that's rare. It's usually very different, but it's not negative. At least in my experience, that's the case.
Isn't disappointment also an example of when we become attached?
Can be.
To outcomes. And,
or to the idea that we wanted.
Yeah, and
sure.
Just this whole idea of this human dilemma we get into with our attachments to
Yes.
what happened on this plane, and allowing your place, you know, to, just what you said, your whatever outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
But part of being in the world, but not of it.
It's a hard word, that attachment, though, isn't it? You think, Swamiji?
We can often be puzzled why things don't work out. We try so hard. We know we were pure in our intention, unselfish, and yet it didn't work out. We get so disappointed and sorrowful, and melancholy. Huh? And we're at a loss momentarily. What do I do now? Because you really banked on that a lot. Think in your own life, when you were seriously disappointed, what sooner or later happened? And now looking back, was that a hidden blessing? Although it was painful. And there was no immediate, caring for that moment. And yet, you got through it. If you were just a body, you couldn't get through it. But there's a nimbleness to the spirit that says, okay, this isn't going to work out. Now let's see what else I can come up with. But it takes a while to get there. But if it wasn't for that nimbleness in your spirit, you could never get beyond your disappointments. Body won't do it. Can't. It's too bulky. It's too material. It doesn't have that kind of flexibility and breadth of operation. But the spirit, nothing holds it back. My trip to get to Swamiji was a series of disappointments. In my mind, at that time, I thought they were major. I couldn't get into graduate school. My grades weren't good enough as an undergraduate. Oh boy. I went into becoming a stockbroker and was an utter failure 3 years later. I didn't make my $1 million. The boss was about to ask me to depart. Join the monks out in California. They couldn't wait to get rid of me. Said, I'm having an interesting career. I remember saying that about when I was 31 years old. And that made me ashamed. 31, and I still don't have anything grounding me? Oh boy, and all my parents had just, I mean my relatives had just scattered, and I had to go back to an aunt and uncle that I didn't like. I disappointed them too. Not a lark, just a lark. I went to visit a family just to get my mind off things and play with the kids. I had done something for him 4 years earlier. And he asked me what he wanted to do. I said, I need a union card. I got to go back and get another degree higher. I said, okay. He didn't say anything, he just said, And he handed me a letter and he said, don't ask me. Just take it to the man's name on the front of it. And that man, unbelievably, and I thought I was a total disappointment in front of him. He said, I'm giving you a scholarship to Marquette, and although the budget is used up, I'll pay for it out of my pocket. And I just fell over. Yeah.
You already had a degree.
Yeah, but I needed one more. I'm a slow learner. You know, it's a funny thing. From that point on, doors open. Something, I don't know, I can't explain it. I can't give myself credit. These were gifts given to me. And thank God I had enough common sense to pick up and run with it. I had the most marvelous years at Marquette. In terms of just social reaction with the students, it was the best time in my life. And I discovered I could study. I had quieted it down finally. And then the doors opened from that point on, one after the other. I thought, gee, this is strange. Then I was all set. I was about to be given tenure. Martin knows what that is. You're reassured, unless you run off with the president's wife, and they might take it back. And I walked in, I was so proud, hey! I ran into Swami and I said, Swami, they're offering me tenure at Loyola. He didn't smile. He looked at me very seriously and said, okay, but if you take it, you won't grow. Now that was like a lightning strike. Huh? If you take it, you won't grow. So, I didn't take it. Instead, I went to work with him for $50 a month. And we built the Himalayan Institute. I think the hardest choices are not between good and evil. Those are easy. You're repulsed by evil. The hardest choices are between goods. You know you can go in either direction. What do I choose? That's the challenge.
I was just thinking about asking the question, what do I choose? Because I think a lot of people, anyway, that have talked to me, is they cannot decide. And so they're back and forth and back and forth. And we kind of make a decision. And then they'll go home. And the next month they come and said, oh, it's back and forth, back and forth. And I said, well, didn't you decide last month? Oh, I couldn't decide. So I'm thinking about it again. So a month after that, they're still back and forth, back and forth. I think that's what's hard on us. Very, very hard. So once you have everything laid out, one hand and the other hand, you have to make a decision and make a good one. I usually ask for assistance. I ask Swamiji to help. Not this Swamiji, although he's first asked, but I mean Guruji. I ask him to help. And he told me to ask him only once. He said, don't keep bugging the sages.
Oh, so no.
Which that let me know that they listen when we ask them a question. And so you want to do it formally. When you finish your meditation or you're just starting your meditation, see his face, look at the picture. Swamiji, I have something important to ask you. Ask him. Please let me know and answer. End of story. Okay. Don't go back and forth. Then try to listen to what is the answer. You should get it within 3 days. After that, the one that's strongest to you, act on. Okay? It works. We think we're alone making all these life choices. I don't think so. Remember they caught him when he was falling down the stairs? They watch us. Once you're initiated, you're part of the family. I don't know how, in heaven's name, we can be part of that family, but we are. And they watch what they're doing. They help us make decisions. They guide us along the route. So it's not always easy, but it's usually pretty clear. Once you act, it gets real. Ask. It's clear after that. Okay? Just don't keep going back and forth. Otherwise, the next time you ask, they're going to say, oh, it's her again. Don't pay any attention. She doesn't listen. Okay?
See what you started, Laboon? Well, what do you think?
Let's meditate.
Okay.